Can you say this in French? I don't find anything. You're in a conversation and you have less than 3 seconds. So I let you say in French, I don't find anything. Time is up. Actually, the word anything doesn't exist in French. So if you froze, it's not because you don't know enough words in French. It's because every method you've used didn't train you to build typical French sentences out loud. But in the next few minutes, you're going to build that sentence yourself from scratch. And it will change how you think about learning French. And by the way, if what I'm about to show you clicks for you, I have a free 4-hour masterclass linked in the description, where you do this for real and much deeper. But first, let me prove it to you. Why is it so frustrating? You may have spent dozens of hours listening to French, or podcasts, videos, immersion content. And you may start to catch some French words you know. But the big problem is that what you want to express, the ideas that you want to express, are in English in your head. And to speak French, you need to express these same ideas in your head, but in a different way in French, and with different words. And that's why you need a specific speaking method to learn to speak French. And listening to French content can't help you. Even if you feel you're learning, you're not learning to turn your English thoughts into French thoughts. The simple sentence, I don't find anything, is a very good example. Because the word anything doesn't exist in French, but the idea of anything exists in French. And of course, you can express this idea in French. So let's do it now. Here we're doing a speaking method. So it's very important that you say every sentence out loud. If you want to speak French, that's how the method works. You're not going to listen and repeat, you're going to build. So let's start with the verb for to find. How to say to find in French? To find is trouver. Trouver. So that's an ER verb. So it's a really simple verb to conjugate in French. So you're going to say now, I find. Just that. And you're going to say it out loud. So how do you say in French just I find? Je trouve. And that's it. So with ER verbs in French, in the present tense, you just need to remove the E sound at the end of the infinitive, trouver, which turns into trouve. Je trouve. And that works for almost all pronouns. And even if it's really simple right now, you really need to make the sentences. That's very important to then make more and more complex sentences. So now quickly, how do you say he finds? Just that, just he finds. Il trouve. And that's it, same principle. You just remove the E sound of trouver, which makes trouve. Il trouve. Now let's say the word for a book. A book in French is un livre. Just un livre. So how do you say in French? He finds a book. Just that there is no trap. Here it's really the same words order in English and in French. So how do you say in French? He finds a book. Il trouve un livre. So same logic, same words order. Il trouve un livre. Now let's say the word for nothing. nothing in French is rien. So the RI, which is ri, and then when you have IEN, that EN in French is un, with IEN. So IEN is ien. Rien. Which means nothing. Rien. So now let's say he finds nothing. And again, there is no trap. Same words order in English and in French. So can you say in French, he finds nothing? Il trouve rien. And that's it, it's just that. He finds nothing. Il trouve rien. And now, what's great is that actually, you just said he doesn't find anything. In French, that's the same. If you want to say he doesn't find anything, in French, you first need to translate it to turn that he doesn't find anything into he finds nothing. And then you can say it in French. So here, it's really a matter of thinking in French. The anything doesn't exist in French, but the negative anything is actually nothing in French. So actually, can you say in French, he doesn't find anything? Just with what I just said. So really think of what you want to say and say in French, he doesn't find anything. Il trouve rien. And that's it. It's exactly the same sentence as you did before. To say he doesn't find anything, first you need to turn it into he finds nothing in English, and then you can say it in French. So, il trouve rien. So now let's say, I don't find anything. So still with the same logic. You just apply the thinking that you just applied. There's no rush. First, you really need to focus on what you want to say. So, can you say in French, I don't find anything? Je trouve rien. And that's it. So first you have the sentence, I don't find anything, that you turn into I find nothing in English, and then you can say it in French. Je trouve rien. And that's what you did. You just said that sentence in French. And you didn't translate it word for word from English. You restructured the thought into I find nothing. You thought the French way. That's the skill no immersion content can teach you. And then let's go a bit further. Let's take the verb for to look for. How to say to look for in French? To look for in French is the equivalent of to search. So in French you say chercher. Chercher. So again, that's an ER verb. It's very easy to conjugate in French. And really remember, the for of to look for is already included in chercher. You don't add for in French. You just say chercher, and that means to look for. So first, let's say she looks for. Just that, just she looks for. Elle cherche. So no for, just the verb chercher, elle cherche. Now can you say she looks for a book? Just she looks for a book. Elle cherche un livre. So here there's no trap, same words order, and there's no for in French. The for is already included in cherche. So, elle cherche un livre. Now let's say, but she doesn't find anything. So in French, but is mais. Just mais. So let's say, but she doesn't find anything. And don't rush. Really think of what you need to say and then say it in French. So how do you say just, but she doesn't find anything? Mais elle trouve rien. And that's it. So she doesn't find anything is she finds nothing. So elle trouve rien. Mais elle trouve rien. And if you know a little bit of French already, you may have learned the word ne in negative sentences in French. But there is no ne in spoken French. That's why I don't say the ne here. Because here we really focus on spoken French. And the ne is for written French. French natives learn ne in school for negative sentences, but they naturally drop the ne in spoken French. So I tell you directly, no ne in spoken French. So now let's say another sentence. Let's say in French, I look for a book. Just that. So really simple. How do you say in French, I look for a book? Je cherche un livre. Just that. Je cherche un livre. Now let's say, but I don't find anything. So again, take your time to think and just say in French, but I don't find anything. Mais je trouve rien. So same principle, but I don't find anything is but I find nothing. So, mais je trouve rien. So you see, the grammar is simple. The stake is in the thinking. 10 minutes ago, you couldn't say I don't find anything in French. And now you're building complex sentences without translating. That's what thinking in French feels like. And that's what matters if you're planning a trip to France. That's the skill you need for every real conversation. At the restaurant, at the market, at the hotel desk, with friends, with family. And everybody can do it. You just need the right method. If you still freeze, it's not a failure, it's a training gap. And every month you keep doing what you've been doing is another month of the same result. That's why I created the masterclass I told you earlier. It's 4 hours of this speaking method, where you'll learn the fundamental blocks to speak French with confidence, plus speed training sessions that makes it all automatic. No listening exercises, no grammar drills, no filling in blanks. You speak the entire time. So if you're planning a trip to France and you want to actually have French conversations when you get there, the link is in the description.